Good morning. I'm Casey Noland. I'm America's teacher. Yeah, I'm not always that comfortable with that title, but the idea is somebody's got to do it. Get out there and try to get us back on track and combat some of this teaching that's been revisionist teaching. And let's get some folks that'll just give it straight and then let young Americans decide. So anyway, I'm meandering again. Oh, let me have a sip of my coffee. But great to have you here. Today is Declaration of Independence Part 2. I'm going to go back now into paragraph 1 today and actually break it down. But I can't function without my coffee. Anyway, okay, so let's back up and let's break it down. And sorry about my eyes. I got to look down at this thing. And I've been having some trouble with my eyes, so bear with me. The unanimous, July 4, 1776. That's pretty self-explanatory. You can look at the timeline on my site to see that. So the country really doesn't become a country until after the Revolutionary War. So things have been building up in the 1750s, 60s, and 70s to where the colonists believed they wanted to have their own country. Now, what is the Declaration of Independence? Pretty simple. Take the root word. Always take the root word. So declaration, take the word declare. What does it mean to declare? We're declaring that we want to be our own country. And I don't think we do this enough as just talk basic and plain and make this stuff simple. We complicate it, we ramble on for hours, and I think we got to get back to telling our kids, and our young people the basics. Hey, England, over there across the Atlantic Ocean, we're tired of having a king and you tell us what to do because you're taking away the rights of freemen. So it's a formal declare that, hey, we're getting a divorce. Sorry, I don't like to use that analogy, but for lack of a better. Okay, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States. Now, it doesn't say 13 United Colonies of the United States of America. It says that it's a little confusing. The 13 United States. So we're 13 states that are going to unite, and we're in America. And that's what the continent was called. And don't forget, they're just the Eastern Seaboard, and I talk about this in my Congress videos. So jump over there and watch those if you want. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary. Now, here's the thing. We rarely just read original source documents. Stop reading commentaries and opinions on what other people believe about these documents. I'm a Christian, and in my faith and in my church and stuff, they do that. Well, this guy said, that guy said. Read it for yourself and pray. Okay, take that same philosophy into the Declaration of Independence. Read it for yourself. If you want to read up on the founders and who they were and get a little backdrop or whatever, but we have so much revisionist history going on, you don't need it. Just read this. When in the course of human events. Okay, what's that mean? You don't need somebody with a PhD, Professor so-and-so, even though I like a lot of those people and they've helped me, but I don't immediately run and grab Fred Banks's commentary. Why? You don't need that. Think. What do they mean by this? When in the course of human events. Okay, I taught this for years, so to me that means throughout history. When in the course of human endeavors. Now, Professor Anton at Oregon State taught me you never define a word with a word. If you want to define what a boy is, you don't say boy. A boy is a boy. A stick is a stick. A log is a log, or a tree. You got to tell people what a tree is. So what is a log? A log is a piece, typically 12 to 24 inches, of a tree that's been cut down. Usually it's over 3-4 inches in diameter. Usually it's under about 8 to 12 inches in diameter. Okay, sorry. I'm thinking of the fire logs I cut. All you loggers are laughing at me right now because you have logs that are parts of trees. So I guess you'll accept the parts of trees, usually with the bark remaining, and is now a fallen and dead tree. Okay, so we got to give people a little detail. So Professor Anton said, and I loved it, I didn't particularly, I don't know if I'm supposed to say some of my videos, I didn't particularly love him. His style was a little odd, but he had some great points. He's the one who put the mark on the chalkboard. If Picasso goes, it's art. If you or I go, it's a mark on the chalkboard. So, anyway, sorry, I digress. So his point was you can never use a word to define itself. So when in the course of human events, you can't say throughout human events. You have to come up with other words for that. So human events to me means throughout history. They're talking about throughout, you could say, I guess, human history, throughout human history. All right, you're like, okay, we got that. Yeah, well, it's going to get juicier here, and don't get cocky, because if I had you write this down and write it in your own words, toughest math problem I ever gave my students was I asked them to rewrite this paragraph, and I don't think I rarely found a student who could do it. They just couldn't stick with it, to take these words, and that's why we give up on original source documents. We get lazy, take a shortcut. What are they trying to say? But the bad part of that is that's how we end up with these stupid comments that we make, like, the founders were a bunch of slave owners. Well, not quite that simple. Yeah, but you're generalizing, and you're not being accurate. And when you're not accurate, and especially we're playing with fire here, in my opinion, because we're playing with one of the greatest countries that ever existed. We enjoy more freedoms. And so rather than slopping around, I think we need to dig into what these geniuses did. And let's see the genius behind this. So when in the course of human events, throughout history, it becomes necessary for one people. Okay, for one people, meaning when one group of people, when a group of citizens, when people on one continent become necessary, when they're forced into a corner to dissolve the political bands. Okay, what are dissolve the political bands? We get that right. To dissolve, to break off the political bands. What's a political band? Well, ties or political connection or historical connection or government connection, which have connected them with another. So there's connected, see? So they're saying, let's try it backwards. They're saying, we used to be connected to England, or when it becomes necessary to get a divorce, when it becomes, once again, I hate to use divorce, but it's a good analogy. When we, because I happen to think that this is sacred, I happen to think that marriage is sacred, but that's another, sorry. So, when it becomes necessary to cut off your ties with another country, dissolve the political bands which have connected with them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth. Now, what does that mean? Well, I think most of you get that. It's just go out into the heavens, the forces. A lot of you say, I don't know if I believe in God, but I believe in a higher power or whatever. Okay, so to go tap in to the sources or powers of the universe. In other words, they're saying this is a big deal. We have a right. You can say whatever name you want to give to it, but we have a right. We believe the universe teaches that we have a right. Okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth. So there are powers all over the earth. We're going to take up our standard bearer for what we believe in. The separate and equal station to which the law of nature and nature's God. Now, God is clearly in here, whether you like it or not. So maybe that's why a lot of people don't like our founders. Maybe that's why they're under assault. But I think what they're saying here is that the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God. I think they're saying a lot here. That there's a law of nature, that there's a law of God, and that the law of God says or provides for, but each individual or each society should be able to govern itself. I mean, that's how man was made, I think. Let's go on and we kind of come back to it. Of nature's God, entitle them a decent respect to the opinions of mankind. Okay, if you really care about other humans, if you're decent, you will explain your reasons. So, and to equal station, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them a decent respect. If you care anything about mankind, if you care about anything about other nations of the world, you should write down your reasons which cause you to separate. So to me, again, divorce is the perfect analogy. If you're going to leave, don't just leave. Leave a note explaining your reasons, your thought process, that's a decent and right thing to do. So a lot of things start to happen here. They start talking about God. They start talking about nature. They start talking about the laws of nature, the decent and right things to do, and how important just the part about putting things in writing. That's why we have laws. And I think, in my opinion now, and it's something we need to talk about, and I'd love to hear your point on it, debate with you, and I'd love to get it to where this could be interchanged, because I don't like just doing the preaching, but I mean, sometimes I do, but at other times I'd really like to have some interchange and ask you. Use the Socratic method. It's ask you the question, but since we don't have that capability right now, and if anybody has a great idea how to get it, I'm all ears. That's one great thing about Facebook, where you can have that interchange back and forth. So I'd like to set that up, possibly a portal or something where... All right, so... lost myself there for a minute. Apologize. We get written law and contract, and it's one of the things, if you think about it, that's starting to happen in our country. We have the right to peaceably assemble, but some of us get out there, we start assembling, we start yelling out slogans, we're angry, we're not gonna take it, and it almost appears, the only thing that concerns me about that is, do you still have a decent respect for the opinions? In other words, do you still believe in peaceful interchange? And let's listen to each other. And that's one of the things that I'm starting to see happen with our Congress, with the recent confirmation of Judge Kavanaugh and stuff. You know, this just get behind a slogan, shout the other group down, use radical approaches. A lot of people accuse the Clintons of really getting into the rules for radicals. And so this begins to philosophically get into, do we really have a respect for democracy, liberty, and Republican? And I don't mean the Republican Party. I mean a republic, meaning we send representatives who vote on our laws, and it's not a direct democracy. And a lot of Americans don't get that. Hey, we voted. Well, that's nice, you voted, but we're a Republican. The founders set that up, that we send the people. I heard a group of conservatives the other day just shouting down their representative, I forget his name, Mash or something, up in, I think, Minnesota or Michigan. They're all mad at him because he came out against Trump, and they were shouting him down, and they said, yeah, your job is to... And they kind of missed it, and this is what I love about Magruder's. Magruder's teaches that a representative does three things. And here I go again. I'm getting a little bit off on a side tangent, and I apologize. But, yeah, they represent their constituents. But he was saying, no, I'm sworn by the Constitution. I represent, I protect and defend the Constitution. Well, there's three things that Magruder's teaches you that they do. They vote the party, they vote their conscience, which could mean defending and protecting the Constitution, and the third, constituents, their conscience, and then the party. So, yeah, there's a time that they can stand alone. So my point being, if we're a republic, we send them up there, and then they may go against the people that sent them there because of conscience, like defending the Constitution. Okay, that's enough for today. It's been a good discussion. I'd love you to email America's Teacher, leave out the apostrophe when you're doing it. Email America's Teacher at M as in M&M, Casey, Casey, Noland, NOLAND.com, and email me your comments, concerns. I'll put them up. I'll answer them on the site. I'd love to have some deliberation and discussion here. Just trying to find the best way to do it. Or just your suggestions, or make them down at the bottom of the comments sections. Thank you. Have a great day. This has been America's Teacher.